you ever thought of what mistakes you're making as a business owner that is holding you back from growing your business? And there's a few that we will talk about today with a rock star named Caitlin Thomas of Beyond Boss. And when I talk about her being a rock star, I mean it. Now, imagine at the age of 17, she started her business. And then by the age of 20, think about this, 3 years later, she had already hit 6 figures. Let's find out the mistakes that we want to avoid and also get a few tips from Caitlin on how you can grow your business. And if you're not hitting 6 figures, you can do that, or maybe you can multiply that 6-figure business. Welcome, Caitlin. So thrilled to have you today.
I am so excited to be here today. It's funny, we made a connection. We're talking about that time when I started my business. I was still in college. And as it turns out through our emailing, I was actually in college in the same class, the same graduating class with your daughter-in-law. And so it's funny how these things all come full circle. But I'm so excited to be here today and talk about some of the mistakes I've made and some of the things that I've learned that might help other people bounce up.
Well, thank you for throwing in my bounce up there. I could not believe it whenever I saw that you had gone to La Roche and I reached out to you and I'm like, oh my goodness, you went to school with not only my daughter-in-law, but also my son, but you were in the same class as my daughter-in-law. Talk about a small world. So viewers, you never know when you're going to run into somebody that you actually know through someone else. So Caitlin, give us, what do you think? Because within 3 years, you grew to 6 figures. And you, as you said, you were in college and you were in a graphic design major. So that isn't an easy major because you have a lot of projects. So what do you think was the one key for you to fast pacing or fast tracking to 6 figures at the same time you're going to college and within 3 years?
You know, I think that the main thing that I did was build relationships with the clients that I had from the beginning. I started my business as a photographer for up-and-coming rap artists in Pittsburgh. And so I was nominated for a Pittsburgh Hip Hop Award. It was around the same time that Mac Miller and Wiz Khalifa were coming, to see if anyone knows who they are.
Yes.
And I spent a lot of time, I had a studio in my house, my boyfriend at the time, and I, now my husband, we, were photographing these people. And eventually I was like, well, I think there might be some money in wedding photography. And at the time there wasn't a lot of resources out there. It wasn't like it is today where you can buy a photography preset and you can buy all of this client relationship management software and have systems and processes. So I really worked on building relationships with these people so that they would refer me out to their friends. And it really became these, truly reciprocal relationships. And so they would refer me to their friends, and I developed systems using things like Excel, like spreadsheets, so that I knew what my workflows would be, and that I could hit those targets as far as timelines go and get them their images, their product quickly and efficiently and make them really happy so that they would talk about me. And that was really even before you could do like Google reviews. So it was mostly just truly word of mouth and building it that way and giving them a really good experience. And in order to do that, I had to figure out how to develop my own systems and processes.
So you touched upon 2 things there that I would love to dive into. So the first one is relationships. Because you talked about, you really built these relationships. And because of COVID, first in sales, relationships is everything. And with COVID, people are not as trusting as they were pre-COVID. So what were some of the keys, or at least one key thing you found that helped you build those relationships?
Well, like I said, I think, finding a way, especially before we had all of these, processes that you could use to make sure that I was giving them their product in a timely manner, that I was really communicating with them, responding to emails, that I was responsive. And obviously, a mistake I made along the way there was like not setting enough boundaries with communication, that like I couldn't be answering text messages, at 9 p.m. But I learned over the last 14 years that, being timely, being communicative, creating a brand that was truly me, so that when they met me and they worked with me, they knew from the get-go, before websites were easy to make, and you had a copywriter and a photographer, that like, oh, this is Caitlin. And when they met me, they weren't really shocked by that. So I found early on that when I was meeting with clients, potential clients, that my booking rate was almost like 95%. The first 5 years before really there was this explosion of wedding photographers, I found that I was booking, I think I had 2 people that I met with in person before the age of Zoom that didn't book me because it was a pricing issue. But for the most part, when they met me, they felt like they already knew me based on what they found, heard through their friends, they saw on my website. The photography was truly me. It wasn't like I was this like, crazy glammed up, gorgeous, oh, I'm just so fabulous. And then they met me and they were like, oh, this is not what we expected. So everything, I really worked on building this personal brand that was based on who I really was, maybe a slightly toned down version from the version you get like at home at 7 p.m. after a glass of wine, but really who I was, and I could have fun with them then, and they knew that. And I found that I rarely had to even sell, because they just kind of already knew at that point that that's what they wanted.
Sure. So a few things you have said in there. One, it's customer service. So you were giving them a top-notch customer service from the get-go. And then 2, you were being very authentic to who you are. So let's relate that to brand, because you have moved from being a solo photographer into having Beyond Boss. So you do branding with brandings and systems and so forth. So we'll touch on that in a second. But let's go back to you were very authentic to who you were. So how important is that when someone is getting their photos taken, to staying true to who they are in their brand? So if you could just touch upon that, please.
So, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners don't fully grasp the importance of being your authentic self. And, we can talk about what that even really means for most of us. But they miss this huge opportunity, especially new entrepreneurs or people who are in the process of kind of pivoting their businesses, to really dive into who they are and what they want. And I tell my business mentorship clients, hey, look, your business is less about what you do. No one cares that I take photos. No one cares if you sell t-shirts. Like, there's a million people who do that. People are looking to create these authentic relationships that, you're building trust with people. And in order to do that, you need to know who you're speaking to when you are, you're marketing your business on social media, on the web, on sales calls, in person. So in order to do that, I tell people, create this ideal client avatar, right? So you're, the ideal customer, and really like brain dump. Who is this person? What do they do? What do they like? What kind of car do they drive? Are they married? Do they want to be married? Do they want to have kids? Do they have kids? Are their kids grown? Who are these people? And then when you're going through your marketing process, through your selling to people, you're talking directly to that person. And the magical thing that happens is that ideal client, they feel like you're talking to them because you are talking to them. And so then when they are then spending money with you, they're booking you, then they really feel confident in who they're talking to, because from the get-go, you were talking directly to them. You're not, we're not Target, we're not Walmart, we're not casting a wide net and saying, hey, everybody, I'm for everyone. I am very specifically for the people that I am for. And those are the people that help me reach 6 figures, not by casting this wide net and hoping that like literally anyone. And on the flip side of that, I think what happens is when you book those clients and customers and you're selling to those people, you're happier in your business because the people that you're working with appreciate you. You appreciate them. You don't have this like push and pull where you have people emailing you at 9 p.m., bugging you about things. They understand. For me, I put myself out there as a mom, as a wife, to a husband with a stressful career. Like all of those things were just out there. So I like at this point, I've learned I so rarely get emails from people, hey, just wondering when I'm going to get my photos back a day later, because I've made it clear from the get-go, like it takes 3 to 4 weeks. And, you know, they know that I have a life beyond my job. So I think that when you're building that, figuring out who you want to talk to, talking to that person, and then nurturing those relationships is like chef's kiss.
So the mistake would be not knowing who their avatar is. And I love that. I had worked before I started my own business. I had worked for a custom builder. It was an on your lot builder. And their motto was, we build for everyone. And it would drive me crazy because we didn't build for everyone. We did not build the $1.5 million houses. And we didn't build the, you know, under 200,000. So you nailed it there, is not knowing who your avatar is or who your customer is. Awesome. So what do you see is someone who is struggling, besides finding their avatar? How do you see, or what can they do to dig into who they are, what they want? Do you have a question or a tip for them?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it really comes, I always suggest to my clients and to the people that I interact with who ask these questions, you know, really stop and think about where you want to be a year from today or 5 years from today. Is it about hitting six figures? Is it about hitting 7 figures? Or is it about, you know, is your goal, is the reason why you have that goal, hey, I want to, you know, provide a happy life for my family. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to hire so that I can outsource and not have to worry about doing all the things for myself. You have to really dive into what your why is and why you want to do the things that you want to do. And then you can begin to figure out the steps to get there. And when you are kind of aligned with what you really want to be doing, it changes everything. Because instead of hitting, you know, I had years where I just was like hitting arbitrary booking goals. I was hitting arbitrary financial goals, but I didn't really know why. And, you know, a lot of people will say, well, I want to save for retirement, but it's like, okay, well, if you want to save for retirement, let's think about, what do you want your retirement to look like? Do you want to be traveling, or do you want to be in a small house in the neighborhood where your grandkids are and babysitting and spending all your time with them? And either answer is perfectly wonderful and great. But I think if we can think a year, 5 years, 10 years, retirement down the road, whatever your timeline is, that can that really shifts everything. And it makes life for yourself and the people around you, your family, a lot better, because when you're aligned with that why. And the thing is, I think people forget that changes, and that's cool. Like, it's great for things to change. It's great for your why to change. What you want before you have kids or before you have grandchildren might be completely different once you hit those big milestones. So I think consistently, like, and I love to take the 2 weeks before the new year. And that's typically when I really stop and like kind of try to realign with that, because it really does change year to year or week to week or heck, day to day. So
definitely. And it can change adversity or setback to the next one, or shifting through it, because I know my business model has changed since I've gone through cancer twice. You know, what I did 5 years ago, you know, where I was just all into having this business and working 24/7, until now taking a step back and shifting the business model. So you hit that. Now, you had mentioned earlier about systems. So what is, because a lot of people, and I will say I'm one, it took me a while before I finally put some systems in place, because that is not really one of my strengths, is systems. So if you know anything about the DISC chart, you know, the DISC assessment, I'm a high ID. So I fell really low on that CNS. So what do you, and I know that's something that you work with others, and that's part of your Beyond Boss. So what's the first step to creating a system?
So I think that it's really important, again, to get really clear on the big picture of what you do in your business every single day, what you're consistently doing, repetitive steps that you're taking. And I work with my clients both in group mentorship, in one-on-one mentorship, and then I also do VIP days where I kind of help them. I do it all for them, right? And they can kind of teach them how to do it. So the first thing that I always tell people to do is whether you take out a big whiteboard, you get a poster board, or you use an app like it's called Miro, and you get out a mind map. Every step. So we can use photography for instance. I wrote out everything from when I get an inquiry to when I deliver the product and when I'm asking them for a review and how I'm following up with them. And I wrote out every single step of that client or customer journey. And then I noted where I could automate things, right? So where I could template things. So emails that I was consistently sending that, I didn't need to be typing over and over and over again, the same thing. Emails that could be automated, like appointment reminders, and then I found applications that would allow me to automate a lot of that. So, like scheduling apps, can you automate the reminder email? Can you automate the link creation? All of those things so that you don't even have to touch it. And then within those systems, things that I couldn't have a computer do or that I wanted to have a human touch, then I could have someone like my operations manager handle it. So when we book our podcast, she sends out, the ask, they get an automated link generator, all of those things. And then she goes ahead and preps them with a personalized email that she is then writing to give it that human touch. So, in small business, there's so many steps that we're taking. We're wearing so many hats. If you can systematize things and map it all out, and then you can see where you have inefficiencies and zoom in on those things and figure out what you could make easier. So down to email lists, again, email templates, contract templates, all of those things, most things we do repetitively can be templated or automated.
What I love about that is not only are you going through every step in your process for systems, but also for touch points. That goes back to building those relationships and that customer service. So whenever if someone follows your system there and they map it all out, they can also figure out where they could be losing a customer because they don't have the right touch point in place. And thinking about it from a sales perspective, working with that customer. So what's your favorite app, or what's your favorite?
My favorite app in the entire world, and I'm very passionate about this, is ClickUp. If you're not familiar, it is like a project task management app. And the best thing about it is that you can develop your own systems within it based on how your brain works. So like I have ADHD and I'm an Enneagram 3 and I'm very type A, but I also really need to visualize things. So it allows me to view my tasks and my projects in different ways. And then I also add my team in and they can set up, they can see all of the exact same tasks and projects and notes and all of the things, but they can change the settings so that they visualize it in a way that makes sense for their brain. So rather than taking an entire team and saying, okay, everybody work the way that I work, I can just plug in the things that I need them to do and they can see it in a way that makes sense for their brain. And I think when you're managing a team, even a small team, I only have 2 other women on my team. It's really important to make sure that you are making things make sense for their brains as well. It just, the ease of, everything completely changes when you're able to help people visualize things in a way that makes sense for their brain and the way that their workflow works for them.
That is so true, because my admin, she thinks completely differently than I do. She is very analytical and I'm not. So for the 2 of us, we have a system that works best for us. And we do the color coding too, because I'm into the colors. This way it keeps her on track of where I'm going, what I'm thinking. So that was ClickUp.
And I even like to, we color code, and I even like to use emojis. I've learned probably in the past 6 months, I started implementing using emojis across all of the applications that we use. So say that like for events, for Beyond Boss, we'll use the confetti emoji for everything in ClickUp, everything in our flow desk, our email marketing system, everything in our invoicing to Eventbrite. Everything has the same emoji so that visually when we look at it, it's a lot faster than sorting through words.
That makes sense. That's a great tip. Now, as we're getting close to ending here, what is one last tip or something you would like to share with the audience?
You know, I think it's just really important to truly, again, figure out who you are, allow that to change, and then implement a team, systems, things that are really going to help you to grow and scale a business, but know why you're doing that, right? So we're not aimlessly chasing success. We're defining success and what that means for us, and we're reaching for that. And when we do that, we have more time to intentionally rest, to spend time with our family, to do the things that we really enjoy, so that when we sit down at our computer or we go to work and we open the door, we turn around that open sign on our business, we know exactly why we're there. And it's so much more fulfilling. And that's the whole reason that we become entrepreneurs. We don't become entrepreneurs to work aimlessly and make money and never have time to spend it. So I think knowing the trajectory that you're on and consistently checking back in with what that trajectory is, and just knowing that like that path is allowed to change. Like you said, adversity or even happiness, like finding like, you know, I have clients who have found the love of their life and got engaged, and they've completely changed everything about what they wanted to do, because suddenly the reason they were checking in was because they didn't want to work the way that they were working. They realized that wasn't working for them. And guess what? The end result was that they made more money rather than less by slowing down and just getting clear on their why.
Oh, because you narrow down. When you narrow down, then you get rid of all the excess that you really don't need. And you're so focused, which ends up bringing more money. So absolutely. Okay, now I said that was going to be the last one. I want to ask one more question.
Of course.
So what is a photography tip that you could give? So whenever, because let's face it, we need headshots, we need lifestyle shots, we need business shots for our businesses. What is a mistake that business owners make when it comes to getting those business photos taken?
Yeah. So I think, you know, it all comes back to what I mentioned before. Like I started by having the photos on my website. They were me. They were in clothes that I would normally wear. I didn't have like, you know, I didn't have too much makeup that didn't look like me. I wasn't wearing, again, like the outfits that I chose were me. And so I think that, you know, so often I'll have clients that like, they want to go all out. And one of the reasons why through Beyond Boss, I offer these micro mini sessions is that it allows my clients to come back, a lot of them 6 to 8 times a year. They're 15 minutes long. They come in and they get photos, they wear an outfit, and they can use them. And then they can get fresh ones in a couple months, as opposed to doing this one big branding shoot that we do a year. And then we're trying to use the same exact photos. And, you know, things change, especially for women. Like we change our hair, we change, you know. And so it's a great way to kind of refresh and stay up to date. My biggest tip is always just be you, elevate it a little bit, you know, stick to on-brand colors. You don't want to like wear something that's completely off of everything different from everything that is on your website and on your social media and on your visual brand. Just stick to who you are, stick to what you do, and just have fun with it. You know, so many people are so nervous and so uptight about it. And it's like, the more you show your personality and let that shine through, the better you're going to communicate who you are through photography.
Thank you, Caitlin. That is a fabulous end here. So thank you for all the tips, because you gave some really awesome nuggets here. So truly appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. This was so much fun. I love, this is the stuff I love talking about. It really lights me up and gets me excited, helping people, especially women, figure out what their why is and who they are and why they do what they do, and then helping them grow and scale from there.
And it comes through. It comes through in your excitement. It comes through in the way that you present yourself and the tips and the advice that you give, the suggestions. So truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate you being on Bounce Up here. So this is MJ Callaway. Remember to power up, to play up, and to make it a bounce up day.